Hi, everybody. I'm Erica Rood. I am a life coach for parents, teen girls, and young adult women. I am back with Kim, and we are going to have our second conversation today, all about ways to support your teen through challenges.
Yay. And I'm Kim Muench. I am Real Life Parent Guide, and I specifically work with moms of adolescents. So those who are raising middle school, high school, and young adults. And I'm so happy to have this second conversation with you, Erica.
Me too. So let's just dive into some common challenges. So I spend most of my time talking to teen girls and young adult women. I hear a lot about the struggles that they face. And Kim, I know you talk to a lot of parents, so you hear from the parent perspective the challenges that their sons and daughters are facing. What are some of the common challenges that you hear parents talk about?
I think first and foremost is anxiety is around school performance is a big thing that I hear from parents. I also think that kids are challenged with just the managing their time is another thing that parents whether they're doing that well or not in terms of getting their schoolwork done, maybe if they have a job, just managing all the different things in their lives. Even though we're in the midst of COVID, there's still plenty of things going on. So helping them manage their schedule. And of course, I think one of the most prevalent things that I work with is parents in not having enough confidence in their parenting ability. I would say that's where I see the most challenge.
And that's probably where you help a lot. Yeah. I can echo that. A lot of the girls that I talk with, they struggle with managing everything. There's so much pressure and expectation with school, and certainly with like all the transitions related to COVID. Time management and just, schedule management is a real challenge and can trigger a lot of additional challenges like procrastination and the lack of motivation and, the stress and the overwhelm. I think, a lot of teen girls specifically, they struggle with body image, which is a topic we're going to talk about next week. And just, confidence, feeling capable and feeling good about going into new situations. So, it's real common for parents to want to support their teens through these challenges. And sometimes they just have big questions about the best ways to do that.
Right.
So, ready
One
to
of the
give
things that
parents some
I
advice?
one of the things that I talk to parents about actually is educating themselves on whatever stage their child is in. There are no shortage of parenting books out in the world that talk about either specifically to girls, specifically to boys, or parenting in general. And I think some of the ones that I typically talk to parents about, Untangled by Lisa D'Amour is one specific to girls that I think is fantastic, and I'm sure you can speak to that. And one about parenting in general is brand new, and it's called The Scaffold Effect. And that really helps parents get a handle on what it looks like to support their teen through anxiety and just in general. And, this whole there's so much that goes on, as you and I know, during the 15-ish years of adolescence, both physically and emotionally for our kids, and how important it is for parents. Another thing I do for them in terms of their confidence level is just to listen and be a sounding board for their anxiety, because when they can release their anxiety around what's normal, what's not normal, how do I encourage my child, how do I best support my child, and they're the calm in their kids adolescent storm, that goes such a long way.
Yeah, definitely. I love Lisa D'Amour. She's such an incredible resource, and that book is so helpful. I love that she gives that practical advice, but she also affirms a lot of the struggles that parents face and explains a lot of the things that teens go through. So, when you do understand your teen and you have a better sense of like what makes, why she's kind of doing the things she's doing, then it's a lot easier to do one thing I often share with parents, which is calibrate with your teen. It's so important when you're supporting your teen through a challenge to meet him or her where he or she is, meaning, kind of removing your expectations, removing the fear, removing your own, anxieties and worries about what your teen is going through, and being able to be really present and meet your teen where she is.
Yeah, that is super important. And again, lends itself to the parent kind of working on their own stress level and making sure they're taking good care of themselves physically by getting a good night's sleep and these kinds of things, so that they are emotionally attuned and available to those teenagers that really need them.
Absolutely. Yes. Self-care. And I think just another thing about that is when you as a parent model taking care of yourself, you're doing your teen a huge favor and showing her or him, also how to manage some of the ups and downs of life. So not
Right.
only does it kind of put you in a better place to parent, but it also shows your teen, a very important life skill.
Right. So if you're ever having that parent guilt about, should I really, take this time for a walk during the day, or should I, I really should be doing this, that, or the other thing, remember that you are modeling for your kids. And if you want them to be that adult that takes good care of themselves, you have to step up and do it first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think another thing as it relates to supporting your teen, it's important to recognize that during the teen years, your teen might not always want to turn to you. And that's natural. Teens are developing independence and they need to have an opportunity to figure things out for themselves. And I know from the parents that I talk to, this can feel, can feel scary. It can feel kind of threatening, and parents can sometimes take it personally when their teen doesn't necessarily want to talk to them. So, two things for parents. Remember, that's okay. That's normal. And it actually builds that sense of capability in your teen that does lead to more confidence and more ability to handle life's challenges. And, because she might want to turn to other people, it's really important for parents to encourage and support their teens support system and their network of people. So their network of people can include people like me, life coaches, maybe therapists, teachers, neighbors, extended family members, even, trusted friends that have a little bit more life experience who can be good sounding boards and provide, helpful information and advice if that's needed.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I'm so privileged to say that each of my boys has had someone in their lives, a coach or a teacher, or for the younger boys, my older boys have been kind of that mentor, that trusted space. And I know that it can, as a parent, maybe feel a little bit like threatening, or as you said, just very limiting to think that your kid doesn't want to tell you everything. But the reality is sometimes our kids don't want to share with us, and that is okay. But to have that support network, to have that other person in place. My daughter has a singing teacher, and she is in her late 20s and just a really great gal, and she's married. And I really appreciate that she's a part of my daughter's life, and that she's got someone, else that is closer in her age, but has her act together. And, my daughter can look up to her as well, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. It's so important. And it just gives a parent a sense of relief, knowing that there are people in your daughter or your son's corner who they can turn to.
It's the village.
Yeah, it is. It is, of course. And I guess, my final tip is related to what we talked about last week, and that is to really listen to understand. When you want to support your teen through a difficult experience in life, that element of listening and that level of listening to really understand what your teen's going through enables you to, find the gaps and find the places where he or she may really need that support, and then, be able to provide it.
Yeah. And don't forget to ask, how can I best support you? Because what we also want to do is help them begin to think for themselves in terms of what do they need for us not to rush in and fix something for them necessarily, but for them to get to know themselves better. And, what could I really use as support? And then to be that support for them. I love it. All great tips, Erica.
Great tips, Kim. Thank you. So just to review, we talked about educating yourself, finding these resources. Lisa Damore is a great one. Taking care of yourself, modeling self-care, really filling your own cup first, getting your own parent coaching, if that's something that is going to be helpful, and then calibrating with your teen, building up her support network, and listening to understand.
Yes.
And asking the question.
Yes.
Yes. So thanks for the great conversation as always. We're super
Awesome.
happy to be here to talk with each other, but also to share helpful tips for all the parents who are watching. And we will be back next week to dive into a really common challenge for teens, which is body image.
I love it.
So we'll see you then.
Thanks.
Thanks.